everybody down there in the internet lands. It's Slam Down Under Hangout, and tonight we are discussing one of our mini reads that we voted on, which is 6 months and 3 days, no, 6 months, 3 days, no and, by Charlie Jane Anders. This is a novelette that we read, which you can read for free online from Tor if you'd like to read it. Link down in the doobly-doo. Oh, I got to do that. So rare. So it's a nice quick read, not very hard. And let's see what everybody thought. Bobby, let's start with you.
Oh gosh. Hey, I went first at the last hangout.
Did you? I'm sorry, I did not run that one.
I was taking a drink and Matt was like, Bobby, and I'm like, fine, I won't have a drink. I liked it a lot. I literally only just finished it. Like we were watching V for Vendetta, and I was sneakily reading the last 10 pages on my e-reader. But I got the ebook that had 6 months, 3 days, and 5 others, and I'm actually quite looking forward to the other short stories. I'm curious now. Yeah. So as someone who's a bit hard to please when it comes to romance-y books and stuff like that, I liked this one.
Awesome, Kim.
I enjoyed it. I just don't think I'm in the mood for reading at the moment, so it didn't hit me a lot, but it was very interesting. It did make me think a lot. So on that front, even though I was kind of like, I really want to read it. I really want to come to the hangout, but I don't really want to read. It's still like, I enjoyed it, and I think there's a lot to discuss, even though my brain's a bit, but as soon as someone starts discussing something, I'm sure topics will come up and my brain will kick into gear.
We appreciate your effort, Kim. Sarah?
Yeah, look, I enjoyed it. I had heard Charlie speak on Dear Hank and John, and I didn't know her as a author, and she was guesting. She was placing John while John was probably sorting out his book, and I just was super impressed with her. I loved how her approach to things. I was like, okay, I need to read your stuff. I need to read your things. So I looked up things, and this was one of the very highly rated short reads. So when Mel was asking us for mini reads, I put it forth. And also it's time travel, kind of time travel related or time based. So it's totally up my alley. And just predestination vibes. That one with Bruce Willis and
12 Monkeys?
Jumper?
No, but also that.
No,
the one with is it Looper?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Looper.
Yes,
That's it.
I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I was like, I could see him. I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Big vibes on that. But what I really loved about it was just, it really is going through that whole that structure of watching things disintegrate, and it was just, there was a lot to consider about whether there is a difference between people who know something's going to end versus people who are still in something even though they know they shouldn't be. There's a lot to talk about, but I really liked, I thought the ending was really quite good actually. I had to go back and go, what did they say? Scroll up. So yeah, that's me.
Elizabeth?
As with a lot of Charlie Jane Anders writing, I found it interesting, but not really my jam. This one, I don't know whether it was just my mood on the day, but I felt a little bruised after reading this one.
It's not a cheery story.
Most of her work isn't.
No, there's a reason. I was fine with reading one of her shorter stories, but if it had been a novel, I'd have been like, look, I have respect for your writing, but I'm not into the darkness that you do.
Yeah. I read a couple of her novels. I haven't yet forayed into her recent YA stuff, but also some of her short stuff that I've read has been a bit surreal or absurdist, which I do not enjoy at all. But this one was more, I found this one was more like her novels, and particularly I'm thinking of, I've forgotten what it's called. Carry on, it'll come back to me.
All right, I found this one to be a conversation between two theories about time travel. basically. And so I enjoyed it from that respect. So I enjoyed the thought process of it all. The story itself, it was a vehicle to do the conversation for me, and that was fine. But I think that given what the nature of it was, the conversation that it was, and the fact that there was no ability to have a conclusion about that conversation because there is no answer, I think that there was never going to be a happy ending. It couldn't be, but it was as happy as it could be. So I thought that was amazing for a Charlie Jane Anders story. Yes.
Did you remember?
Yeah, I did. It's called The City in the Middle of the Night is the one that I was thinking of. But also, while I kind of agree with you about the conversation part, Mel, I also felt that at its heart, what it's actually about is about the way in which people are so invested in their worldview that they want everyone else to agree with it.
That's
totally how I read this. It was very much like, I'm like, okay, this is a relationship between like a serious, like, what is it? Optimist and then nihilist, and this is someone and then there's nihilist, and they're in love and they're trying to make this relationship work, but they can't get out of their own heads to a certain extent. I just thought it was very interesting.
And I find, again, like the work of Charlie Jane Anders that I've read, she writes a lot about like relationships between people with conflicting worldviews. So it felt very on brand in that respect.
Fair enough. Well, that was my major point. Anybody got anything else?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, and I hadn't sort of considered it that way. I had sort of, I think that's what I'd seen on a lighter level, whereas you two have kind of gotten deeper into it. It was like that, like it doesn't, I could see that this could be a relationship regardless of the theory of time travel around it, about people who really it shouldn't, it goes sour and then they keep fighting through things instead of going, what are we actually fighting for? Like, what is here? So I thought that was sort of well told and understood. And I think you're right, Mel. Yeah, it was that there's two theories of time travel, even though it's not a time travel movie. It's like, have you got any free will, or do you have free will, or do you not? Like, is everything predestined? Which is that whole thing of predestination / Looper is like, it's all this dark. Okay, this also, I have to say, has made me go back into dark. I'm getting through that third bloody season. I'm getting there. Because a lot of these predestination stories, and I did like this one, and it's interesting, Elizabeth, what you said, that this is kind of her trademark mood, is that I liked this because it was short. I read The Time Traveler's Wife, another, by the way, spoilers ahoy. I've read The Time Traveler's Wife, which is all about predestination and that you don't have free will, and what has been will be, will ever will be. And oh my God, that's the most melancholic, it put me in such a funk and a mood. It was well written, I couldn't put it down, but oh my God, I couldn't, I was so melancholy about it and miserable for it. And so this was a nice way of exploring some of the same kind of things without getting too into that zone or mood. So I like that. And I did, I haven't read any of her stuff, the author stuff before. I did like the way she wrote, though. I felt like I was in the room often with her and with the characters. I liked the way she put some of the sentence structure together. So for me, I would actually like to explore more of the writing. However, I am a little bit put off that from Elizabeth's comment that this is kind of like what you're going to get. So I'm not sure, but I do. I like time travel. Anyone knows me, I'm into that. I've seen most of it, including Primer. So that's saying something. So there you go.
Well,
I just spoke. Somebody else talk.
Yeah, I think that was a really good sign, because sometimes Elizabeth and I have been doing these short story reads, and sometimes we're sort of like, is this the thing? Is this what they're talking about? This one was very clear. It was nice. I like that about it, though. It was not hard to understand what she was doing here.
Yeah.
Well, the ending is quite interesting, but go on, Sarah.
Oh, no, let's go to the ending because mine's a tangent.
I mean, tangents are good. We have
Oh, no, it
tangents.
will be good. We'll get there, but let's get into the ending.
Did you want to share some of your thoughts about the ending?
No, not at all. I just you go, and then I will add. That's how conversations work.
Like, I didn't really have anything particular about it, but just that it was interesting. Like I feel like it was restored the ambiguity that it had kind of gotten. Like, it seemed like it kind of became more certain as the story went along what was happening there, but then the ending restored some of the ambiguity to it. I don't know. What did everyone think?
It's like it was kind of coming along the track to getting you to believe that there is no free will, and the end just put that ambiguity back in. That there must be, because things changed.
Yeah.
And memory changed. I also thought it was such a and this is what I'm talking about in her writing. I really loved the way she talked about somebody knowing the future like a memory, that it's hazy. I thought that was, I really enjoyed that. I thought, that's a really good way of explaining how I don't have all the details. And what I loved is, what was the name of the male protagonist in this? I've forgotten his name.
Doug. Which is a perfect name for him.
It really was. Like that ending of that Doug's memory, even of the past, had become hazy because he was sure he'd said something. And, I thought about how it made me reflect on how, we are, as humans, we're foible, and memory is completely unreliable. We're unreliable narrators of our own experiences, because we only have them from our perspective, and you misremember stuff all the time. Like, and especially as you get older, the kind of things that go, did I say that? I'm like, I don't remember saying that, but I think I might have, kind of thing.
That's something I could have said.
Yeah, that's really could be me. And I thought that in this end was beautifully kind of encapsulated, is that and it's sort of speaking to what I think, Mel, you were talking about, Elizabeth, and maybe it was Bobby. I can't remember. See, I can't remember. That I got caught up in my own thing there. That people's value sets. Who was talking about the values, and that you believe what you believe?
Elizabeth started that conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think that when you spoke to that, I was like, it's so. That kind of was an epiphany in my head of going, because that's what Doug had kind of done, is that he even had told himself, like, he can't deviate from his belief system, and is still investing in it even though it's wrong. And I just thought that was really interesting, and you can see that playing out in so many different ways in the real world, of people who have, I'm in this belief system, and I, despite things going wrong, I'm going to dig my heels in about it. Trump supporters are a big one for that. So, like, getting vaccinated is terrible. And then Trump gets vaccinated, I'm going to dig my heels in further. So I thought that was a really, really good parallel there, and very interesting. And I was, thank you for sharing that epiphany, because I was like, yes, you thought about it so much deeper than I did. I like it.
You know what I would have loved if they'd done?
What?
If they'd coded the page so that after you got to the end, the text about the broken leg at the top changed to say broken arm. That would have been amazing.
But it's
The
also,
problem is, I
she
didn't
was
remember what it
talking
was.
right beforehand. She goes, why don't her friend I can't remember. Martha, or something, Martha, something like that, was saying, why don't you just break up with him by a text? And she goes, then my bike would still be in one piece. And she's
That's
like,
right.
that makes no sense. And her bike was still in one piece at the end. So even that
That's
changed.
exactly-
It wasn't. He broke his leg, because I had to scroll right back up to the top when I finished that to read it. He broke his leg breaking her bicycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why I wanted it to have that
Yeah.
text change, because it would have left one thing as changed and one thing as
Right.
maybe
Same,
changed,
yeah.
but also maybe not, because you've gone back and checked the
Yeah.
text.
And to be
And-
honest, I didn't remember what I actually couldn't remember what was broken.
Yeah, neither could
so
I. 'Cause
I
it was
didn't pay any
right near the
attention to
beginning.
that.
Yeah. Well, it
Yeah.
wasn't right
So
near
when-
the beginning, so it's harder to find.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So I couldn't remember. I was like, I know they broke something, but I don't remember what it was. You both could be right at this point. So to your point, like at the bike bit, because I really liked how I liked that piece of conversation too, where she says, in my what did she say? My noble steed, my noble five speed in a sea of fixies, which again, writing, I really loved that, because we're bicycle people. So I was like, oh, I like how that's written, and I visualize exactly what this person is to their bicycle and what their bicycle is to them. So yeah, it would have been cool if that bit had remained, and then actually she'd written broken leg, and you were like, got to the end and you go, but he did say leg, but the bike's still, that would have been kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
I
Or
bet
even
that
it just blacked it out afterwards, so you couldn't go back and read it.
Yeah, I was actually thinking if the author had written it as broken leg the entire time, but also broken bike. So when you got to the end, one was there and one wasn't.
Yeah.
And she was misremembering something and he was misremembering. Do you see what I mean?
Because it would have just kept the ambiguity, because I feel like in some respects it did swing at the end the conversation towards Judy's side, but that's also partially possible because we were in Judy's head.
And we were with Judy at that point. Yeah. And we spent more time with Judy than we did with Doug, because we were with Judy with her flatmate. Yeah.
Also, Judy does a better job of synthesizing both of their viewpoints than Doug does.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because
Doug
he
doesn't
never
really
did
entertain
that.
hers at all.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like Doug's really stuck, and she tries to sort of help him understand that he doesn't have to be stuck. I feel like if they I like the idea of that's tricky, like if the author had set it up, or Tour had set it up so that it was more ambiguous in some ways, but I feel like it would have undermined part of her character a little bit, and undermined that sub arc, or that subtext of these are really just two people who have very different approaches to how the world works. And because to me it makes sense. He rewrote his own memory of what happened in their first date and what they said, because he's so certain that this is how the world works. He's so certain that he was right, and his understanding was this is what would happen, and this is why they break up. And she was like, no, we have choices. And obviously here I did one small choice somewhere that someone made meant that this isn't going to end up exactly as you insist it must. I still hope.
Well, even down to how they broke up at the end, it was more about the fight about their belief system than it was supposed to be a fight about him breaking her bike, but it wasn't that at all.
No.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the whole way along. It was always about the belief system, because he would sit there and tell her things, and she would get up and have to walk away, because she's like, it's either too much, or it's like she doesn't want to hear so much that she loses her hope in free will.
Because there's a point in there where she sort of does, where he talks at her so much that she realizes that she just basically is doing exactly what he was saying she would do, and so she went searching for something to control, to be like, no, this is my life, I get to call the shots.
Which is why the relationship could only work if he had shifted to her viewpoint. It couldn't work the other way around. And it wasn't. I mean, there was the point where she was like, she couldn't see other people's their timelines anymore, and she had to actually make a concerted effort, and that scared her, because she was buying into his worldview. And then she made a concerted effort, and oh no, there is hope there is timelines and choices, and things go different ways. And what did she call herself, a time vigilante or something? I thought was kind of cool. And so I quite like that.
Oracle, anyway. But also kind of, that was really interesting for me too, because she is actually kind of in some respects taking on his criticism in a way and responding to that. So because he said about how selfish she is, and it's true, most of the time that we see her predicting the future, she's looking at her own. She hardly ever looks at anyone else's. But after he says that, then she goes out and she searches for timelines where she intersects with the people, and so she can start to tell their futures as well, or at least their presence. And kind of, so in that sense, she's going, oh, maybe he's right, maybe I am being like selfish here, but this is the way I can overcome that and become a better person for it.
And which I think was one of the really good messages from it in particular, was the idea that just because you're not going to be with someone doesn't mean that they can't help you improve and become a better person, and they don't necessarily have to do that by being a good person themselves.
Yeah, because she did some pretty awful things as well, for sure.
Sorry, I just noticed it was cat time. Just as Kiki jumped off, I saw him. Moose just came right down the stairs, same time.
Hi. You can't hear me, but hi. Yes, you did. So the tangent that I had was I was reading through the comments because I thought they might be less of a fire. Just a fire, and they're actually very good. And in one of the comments, someone referred to a article that I think she wrote it. I don't know if she wrote it for Gizmodo or something, but it was about how to start a short story, and it was like the seven starters, and it was fantastic. So I would highly recommend that. I can find it, and we can put the link in the doobly-doo. But it was really good about how, like, these are the 7 ways and the risks and the payoffs of how you start a short story, in terms of you've got to get your reader in, because it's not like a novel where they're going, oh, I'm going to invest in this, and it's fine. I know how big it is. It's like, okay, how do I get them in the door? And it was really interesting, sort of looking at the different techniques of, throw them in there, or just, you don't like, what I liked about this one is there's no backstory. It's just like, this is the situation, start scene. Which was cool. But she also what the author did in this article for Gizmodo, I think it was for Gizmodo, apologies if it wasn't, about how to start a short story, she put in lots of references, like good examples. So now I want to read all of them. I was like, damn it, that looks good. Yes, that is an enticing start. So that was my tangent.
If you're looking for more stuff like that, she recently had a book out called Never Say You Can't Survive, How to Get Through Hard Times by Making Up Stories.
Cool.
Which was originally a series on tor.com, and they collected it and published it.
That's also, cool. Sarah, are you aware that she has a podcast?
Doesn't surprise me, considering how at ease she was with Hank. Like, very,
has won a Hugo Award at least once for that podcast. With the partner Annalie Newitz. I think it's called Our Opinions Are Correct.
That's correct, yes.
Cool.
Sorry, that was just good. I had to do it.
I enjoy her speaking in in real life, like a non-fiction tone, like whether it was in Hank's podcast, speaking, because I did speak a lot about writing, and reading that article, which was really cool. So yeah, totally would be up for reading more of her stuff where she's talking about anything, really. It's one of those things sometimes people have, like I think about The Tangent, John Green, who of course wrote lots of fiction novels, and then the thing I think people absolutely have fallen in love with him is his, writing about the Anthropocene Reviewed, and I
think that's where he found his really strong groove there.
Yeah, right. So you never know where you're going to have your different voices and find different niches to explore. So very cool. Yeah. Anyway,
did we have
time travel
story, guys?
Fun.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, well, I'll wrap us up then. Thank you, everybody who watched. You got a short one, lucky you. These are usually much longer.
Short one for a short story.
We didn't mind it. If we'd hated it, there would be so much more to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Clearly, Charlie Jane.
I did good this time.
So our next hangout will be in 2 weeks for Rosewater by Tate Thompson, sorry. Oops. Which is Bobby's pick. Yay! All right. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.
Bye.